Hello there, welcome to Lecture Series 7. This is a two-part lecture series on IAS 38 Intangible Assets. For an item to be recognized as an intangible asset, it should firstly meet the definition as set out in IAS 38. IAS 38 defines an intangible asset as an identifiable non-monetary asset without physical substance. Secondly, it should meet the following recognition criteria set out in IAS 38. 1. The asset is identifiable. 2. The asset is controlled by the entity. An entity controls an asset if the entity has the power to obtain the future economic benefits from the resource and restrict the access of others to those benefits. This leads to the next criteria, that is, it's probable the future economic benefit associated with the item will flow to the entity. And finally, as always, cost can be measured reliably. IAS 38 requires an intangible asset to be identifiable to distinguish it from goodwill. So what is meant by identifiable? An asset is identifiable if it is either separable, that is, it is capable of being separated and sold, transferred, licensed, rented, or exchanged, either individually or part of a package, meaning together with a related contract, identifiable asset, or liability. Alternatively, the asset arises from contractual or legal rights, regardless of whether those rights are transferable or separable from the entity or from other rights or obligations. Moving on, let's look at the measurement principles of IAS 38. And as we have seen before in IAS 16, Property, Plant and Equipment, and IAS 40, Investment Property, this is broken down to initial measurement, being measurement at recognition date, and subsequent measurement. On initial recognition, a separately acquired intangible asset, examples being licenses and computer software, should be measured at cost. Costs comprise 1. Purchase price, net of trade discounts and rebates. Any import duty and non-refundable purchase taxes incurred should also be included in the purchase price. 2. Any directly attributable costs incurred or preparing the asset for its intended use. Examples include professional fees and costs of testing. Capitalization of costs on initial measurement should cease once the asset is in the condition necessary for it to be capable of operating in the manner intended by management. Therefore, costs incurred while an asset is capable of operating but yet to be used, and operating losses incurred while demand output builds up, are examples of costs that should not be added to the carrying value of the intangible asset once the asset is in the condition necessary for it to be capable of operating in the manner intended by management. On subsequent measurement, as with IAS 16, Property, Plant and Equipment, an entity has a choice of adopting either the cost model or the revaluation model. If an entity adopts the cost model, the intangible asset should be carried at cost less accumulated amortization and impairment losses. On the other hand, if the entity adopts the revaluation model, the intangible asset should be carried at fair value at the date of revaluation, less any subsequent amortization and impairment losses. Please note, IAS 38 permits the adoption of the revaluation model, provided the fair value of the intangible asset can be measured by reference to an active market. An active market is uncommon for intangible assets, but in some jurisdictions, an active market may exist, for example, for certain licenses such as fishing or taxing. An active market cannot exist for brands, newspaper mastheads, music and film publishing rights, patents or trademarks, as each such asset is unique. In Part 2 of Lecture Series 7, I will look at the underlying principles of amortization and internally generated intangible assets as set out in IAS 38. Till then, thank you and have a pleasant day.